What's up?
What's up, bro?
Yo, I'm listening, bro.
Okay. What message do you think Paul contradicted?
What was that, brother?
Peace to you as well. What message do you believe Paul corrupted or contradicted?
I honestly just can't grasp the concept of like the Trinitarian triune kind of thing. I think it's too complicated for me to understand.
Does that make it false?
Not necessarily, but I do commandments, and I believe one of the commandments was like one God, and it makes sense for God to just come back and tell you that, come back to my true ways and worship the one true God.
You've read the commandments before?
Yeah, I mean, I read some parts of it.
So you haven't,
not all of it.
So you haven't read, it sounds like you're kind of going off what you heard. You haven't like investigated this yourself?
In a way, in a sense. I mean, kind of collecting data through, certain things. I've heard the triune God was like pagan and stuff like that. So
I see. So you believe that Paul contradicted the message of the Torah, like the Old Testament? Is that what you're saying?
Like the 10 Commandments, yeah. Like, I mean, because like the idol part, what I'm saying, you shall not have like idols and you shall not have no other gods before me. I feel like there's like a lot of partners. If you guys were just worshiping the Father, maybe that would be accurate. And then that would have got abrogated later on into Allah later on. And then you guys would have maybe adapted it. But the thing is, literally, you guys are worshiping all three in one, which makes it completely pagan. And you guys are associating partners.
I'm a little confused. Hold on, slow down, Ahmed. Slow down. I'm a little confused. So you're saying that Paul contradicted the message of the Old Testament, in which there is only one God. That's what Paul says. He says there's only one God.
Well, Paul says there is three in one God. The Father.
Can you show me where Paul said that?
Yeah, I can try to. So you're telling me you worship only one?
Yep.
Well, the thing is though, like it's not necessarily. How would it be one if there's like different parts of bodies and stuff like that?
I think you should ask yourself that question. You believe that Allah has different parts of his bodies and stuff, yet you believe he's still one God. I don't believe in partialism. You do. You condemned yourself just now.
Well, yeah. So the part with partials, that would be considered his like basically his characteristics and stuff like that. We don't attribute those as like independent type of things, like independent bodies.
He has hands. He has feet. He has a face.
But it's not parts though.
Those are parts. Is he identical to his hand?
Well, yeah, of course. I'm saying that he has a he's a deity, so he obviously has some sort of like shape to him.
Is Allah his hand?
Well, that's what it's described, I think. Yeah.
Is he his hand though? Is he identical to his hand?
No. He's not identical to his hand.
Right. So then it's a part of him. He's not identical to it.
It's a part of him. Yeah, of course. But it still makes him one. Though.
All right. So all of these different parts come together and make him one composite being, one composite God. So you believe in partialism.
Okay, I can get where I can get where you're going with that. So it's not necessarily that it is actually three. It's actually just three different roles playing on into one type of structure, kind of in a way.
I believe in one God. He's not divided into parts. There's no partialism in him. He's not divided. He's one God.
I just can't grasp that though, because
but how could you grasp God having actual hands and feet and stuff? How can you grasp that?
Well, of course, because ultimately, if I were to think of him as only one being, then I would think of him inside of that physical aspect.
But
I wouldn't consider him because the two other roles play a part and disapparts and disassembles from the Father. So I wouldn't understand.
I want you to really consider what you're saying. You're saying that you can grasp the Islamic concept of God. Like that's something you can understand. You can picture it in your head. You can grasp it. You can understand it. When it comes, it's okay. Yeah. When it comes to the Trinity, the Trinity is a concept of God that you just simply cannot grasp. And so I want to give you this perspective. When you have God, according to even the Quran and the Bible, God is stated to be unlike anything in his creation, correct?
Yeah, of course, he's outside of the creation.
So we as creatures, because he's completely other than, he's outside of creation, we cannot comprehend him, right?
Yeah, we cannot comprehend nor fathom him. Yes.
Or fathom him. But notice what you said. You said that you can fathom your God. You said you can grasp, you can comprehend your God, but you can't comprehend or grasp or fathom my God. So which one of our theologies fits the bill?
That's a good question. That's a good question. Mm-hmm. Okay, let me try to answer this in the best way possible.
Okay.
So you're saying that, okay, so your concept of let me ask you this. So what is your concept then of Jesus Christ then happens to be? Would it happen to be a man that has physical parts?
My concept of Jesus Christ is that he is God and he's the second person of the Godhead. He's the Son, the Word of God, who took on flesh, right? Took on the nature of humanity and walked amongst us. That's my concept of Jesus Christ. With this being said, this is something that, again, my concept of God meets the criteria of God being incomprehensible and unfathomable, you know what I'm saying? While the concept of God in Islam is comprehensible, is graspable. You can fathom him.
Yeah.
So I think that if you're putting that in perspective, the Christian God, the Christian theology matches who God would be more so than Allah does.
Okay. Well, I get what you're saying, just because interesting. I guess it's very interesting.
We should not be able, as you said, and as both of our scriptures say, we should not be able to point to creation and say, see, God is like that. I can understand that. Or see, this reminds me of God. Like that is like that in regards to his nature, his essence. And so when it comes to the Trinity, we cannot point to anything that has one essence and yet has a plurality of persons or hypostases within it. There's nothing we can point to that we can say, yeah, like that, or yeah, like that. We can't. But with Allah, we can do that.
Well, with Allah, we also don't. He also has characteristics because his 99 names also carry a lot of characteristics and a lot of his attributes or whatever and whatnot. So which is really strange. So it's not that we disassemble them in parts, though. Like you said, that we feel like the Trinitarian doctrine is disassembling it in parts, and we don't do that. We necessarily grasp the concept that he is one with ultimately infinite springs of knowledge, infinite springs of information that could be coming from within his source. You know what I mean? So,
but this is my thing. When you say, you talk about Allah's hands, his shin, his feet, his face, and all these things, right? These body parts are not identical to each other. These are different than one another, right? The shin is not the face. The hands are not his foot, and yada, yada, yada. So these are different body parts of Allah, of how he describes himself. And it's not metaphorical. It's actually like, this is what he actually is. You know what I'm saying? And so this isn't, like, a lot of people don't want to say this, like Muslims, they don't want to say this, don't want to admit it, but it is partialism. You believe in a God that is composite, that these are all things that are unified into making Allah what he is. You know what I'm saying?
So would that consider him not to be a deity then? So would you consider Jesus to be a deity?
Yeah, Jesus is God because he's indivisible. He's not made up of parts in his divine nature. I'm not. Okay. By the way, I'm talking before his incarnation, before he takes on flesh, right? Just simply his divine nature. It's not divisible. It's not made up of parts. It's not split. Okay.
So, but what would you consider the Father to be then? Because if you were to disassemble them and understand who Jesus is, then who would the Father's figure in his key role is? Is he ultimately the one that has infinite knowledge that comes out of him, springs out of him?
Yeah. So,
because that's what I'm not understanding. Because okay.
Let me try.
So let me try. It's almost as if there's a block because of the two parts, kind of telling me this is the Father is almost it's way greater than the two others. So how would that make it even equal?
But what's telling you that?
There's also sources too that state it too.
What tells you that Jesus is not? Let me just forget that. Let me just show you what Jesus says here, what the Bible says. So in John chapter 5, watch what Jesus says. Jesus breaks down his distinction with the Father, and his equality with the Father, even though they're distinct in person. He's not a separate deity, rogue deity, divine God doing his own thing, but he's inseparable from the Father, equal with the Father in his essence, while distinct from the Father and humble to him. So look, for example, in John chapter 5, Jesus is healing on the Sabbath. Okay, let me just give you this context here. So it says, now that day was the Sabbath. So Jesus just healed a man on the Sabbath. He told the man, get up, take your bed and walk. He was paralyzed. Right. So it says, now that day was the Sabbath. So Jews said to the man who had been healed, it is the Sabbath. It is not lawful for you to take up your bed. But he answered them, the man who healed me, that man said to me, take up your bed and walk. So they asked, who told you this? Right. So it says, now the man who had been healed did not know who it was, for Jesus had withdrawn and there was a crowd in the place. After Jesus found him in the temple and said to him, see, you are well. Sin no more, that nothing worse may happen to you. The man went away and told the Jews that it was Jesus who healed him. And this was why the Jews was persecuting Jesus, because he was doing these things on the Sabbath. Now, do you know why that's significant? Jesus doing works on the Sabbath. Are you familiar with the Sabbath?
Yeah.
Right. So according to the Sabbath, the Jews are not supposed to work. Right. They're not supposed to do any labor. Right?
Yeah, of course. That's Saturday, ain't it?
Yep, exactly. That's a Saturday. Now, Jesus, though, on the Sabbath is going around healing folks and forgiving sins. And so they come to Jesus and says, you can't do these things. You can't be working these miracles and doing all these type of actions on the Sabbath. It's the Sabbath. But Jesus says, it says this, verse 17, but Jesus answered them, my Father is working until now, and I am working. Let me ask you this. Why is it that the Father is able to work on the Sabbath?
So the Father and Jesus are taking on that role?
What role, though? Why? What is the role of God on the Sabbath? Really, every day. Why does God get to work on the Sabbath?
I mean, he's the Lord of the Sabbath.
Exactly. He's the Lord of the Sabbath, but not just that, because he created the Sabbath. But notice,
that's what you guys think, though. You guys think he's the Lord of the Sabbath?
Oh, that's what he says. He says that himself. Jesus says he's the Lord of the Sabbath.
That's what it says in the Bible.
Yes, sir. And so, this is why it's significant. The Father, one, he's God, right? So God continuously sustains all of creation. His divine actions, he continues to do. Right? No matter what day it is, right? He's sustaining all of creation. He's sustaining the universe, the space and the galaxies. He's the reason why all things hold together as it is. It's because of him, because of God. Do we agree?
Yeah.
Now, if God were to stop doing that, then all of creation would collapse. Everything would collapse and die off, right? But God is sustaining it even on the Sabbath. So Jesus says, my Father is working until now, and I also am working. So Jesus is saying he is able to perform his divine prerogatives just like the Father is, because they are the one who sustain creation. So he makes himself equal with the Father. And this is what it says. Literally, it says, this is why the Jews were seeking all the more to kill him, because not only was he breaking the Sabbath, quote unquote, but he was even calling God his own Father, making himself equal with God. So Jesus makes himself equal with the Father by saying that he's able to perform divine works on the Sabbath, while at the same time, being distinct from the Father. This makes him equal with him. So there's nothing that is saying that the Father is far greater than the Son. They're equal in their essence. However, when it comes to their roles and their operation, the Son does humble himself to the Father, and he took on the form of a servant. So he humbles himself to the Father. So he's humble in one aspect, equal in another. Make sense?
Okay, I guess you're describing his attributes, right?
Yep, exactly. So Jesus has the same attributes that the Father has. So does the Holy Spirit.
How he wouldn't have had the same attributes when he came down, though, right?
Yes, he has the same attributes when he comes down. However,
so he would be all loving and all merciful and every single attribute that God had when he was down.
Brother,
he would be infinite in knowledge when he said he didn't know the hour.
Infinite in knowledge, and yet the word, when he says that he's infinite knowledge and no one knows, he's talking about declarative knowledge, not cognitive knowledge. There's a difference.
Did it say that in the Bible? Did it ever say declarative knowledge? I think you just made that up, bro.
You think I did?
I mean, obviously, come on, you just making shit up at this point.
Have you ever watched any of my content?
I'm just playing, bro. I'm messing with you, brother. Hey, man, I'm sick and tired of the fighting with the religions, man. That's the thing I just don't agree with. I just wish that it was, man, I don't know why God would not make a universal religion and make it just all peaceful, brother. Why do we got to be always arguing against each other, fucking reading new books and shit? I'm tired of this shit, man.
Oh, so you were just a troll this whole time?
No, I'm not a troll. I'm here to learn, for real. We all learn in school anyway.
You was just here trolling this whole time, bro? Had no arguments as a Muslim and then just wanted to troll after that? What's up with these guys, man? What a waste of time.